It was 15th of May, 2012, and the world's most secured prison was hacked. It begins with a question. What does it mean to be secure? A fortress of concrete, gates of steel, guards with rifles, cameras in every corner. Layers of walls built not just to keep men inside, but to assure the world outside that nothing could ever breach them. And yet, history has a way of proving that no system is perfect. Because sometimes the weakest point isn't the walls, it isn't the weapons, it's the people who believe they're untouchable. In the spring of 2012, in a small town most people have never heard of, a 16-year-old boy discovered a way into one of the most secure prisons in the world. He didn't use explosives or guns or secret tunnels. He didn't even step foot inside the facility. He used a laptop and an idea. The teenager's name was never released publicly, not fully. Courts protected his identity, and journalists respected it. He would simply become known in cybersecurity circles as the kid who cracked the uncrackable. He wasn't from a wealthy family. He wasn't trained by intelligence agencies. He was just a restless kid, quiet, obsessed with computers. A boy who felt like the world didn't notice him until one day it did. Like many teenagers in the early 2010s, he spent his nights wandering online forums, hidden places where hackers traded stories, tips, exploits. Most were small tricks, breaking into a school network to change a grade, unlocking a neighbor's Wi-Fi. But then, one thread appeared that caught his attention. It was about prisons, and specifically, about the new smart prisons being built around the world. Now, these facilities weren't just cages of concrete. They were wired with technology, automated door locks, surveillance systems, motion sensors, and digital command centers. Everything connected through central networks designed to eliminate human error. But there was a flaw. Every system that can be automated can be manipulated. And that was the thread that hooked him. The boy learned that the prison in question, marketed at the time as the most secure in the United States, had recently partnered with a private tech contractor. Their system ran on outdated software, and in that tiny gap between old code and new machinery, a door had been left wide open. He didn't plan a heist. He didn't want money. At first, it was just curiosity. Could he really get in? Late at night, glowing in the dark of his bedroom, he began probing. He traced the system's IP ranges, slipped through misconfigured firewalls, and found himself staring at the prison's control panel interface. Cameras, cell doors, lights, alarms, all laid out like a video game dashboard. He couldn't believe it. He refreshed the page, certain it was a mock-up. But it wasn't. This was real. He had, with a handful of keystrokes, placed the keys to a fortress at his fingertips. For days, he didn't touch anything. He just watched. The feed of cameras inside cell blocks, the hum of routines he was never meant to see, guards pacing, inmates sleeping, meals delivered with mechanical precision, the architecture of power reduced to pixels on a screen in a teenager's bedroom. And that's when he noticed something. The schedules were predictable, the routines unchanging. He realized he could, with one command, unlock a door, or shut off the lights, or trigger an alarm that would send guards running in the wrong direction. For a boy who felt invisible, the temptation was overwhelming. And so he tried. The first command he issued was small. He toggled the lights in a corridor on and off just for a second, a flicker no one inside even noticed. But on his end, it confirmed the truth. He had control. A week later, he tried something bolder. He scheduled a false fire alarm in one block. Cameras showed guards scrambling, prisoners confused, chaos contained only by luck. The system reset. Life continued. And still, no one knew. The teenager had just hacked the most secure prison in America, and no one even realized they'd been breached. When the FBI finally arrived at his doorstep, it wasn't because he'd been sloppy. It wasn't because prison officials had outsmarted him. It was because of one thing no system can ever account for: human curiosity. He had bragged. Not to the world, not to newspapers, but to a few anonymous friends in an online chat. One of them reported him. Whether out of fear, envy, or a deal with authorities, no one knows. What we do know is that the boy who once wandered unnoticed suddenly found himself in a storm. The courtroom was split between disbelief and fear. On one hand, here was a teenager, soft-spoken, barely old enough to drive, who had humiliated an institution meant to symbolize absolute control. On the other, there was the realization, if he could do it, who else could? Cybersecurity experts later testified that the prison had been using outdated industrial software, the kind never meant to be connected to the open internet. It was negligence as much as genius that made the hack possible. The boy's fate was sealed not just by law, but by politics. He became a warning, a scapegoat. Though his exact sentence was sealed from public record, whispers suggest he spent years under heavy restrictions, banned from computers, monitored closely, his talent both feared and wasted. But the story doesn't end there, because the real impact wasn't just on him, it was on us. That single breach forced governments and private contractors to audit prison systems across the country. What they found was chilling. Many facilities had similar vulnerabilities. The illusion of absolute security had been shattered. It wasn't barbed wire or concrete that kept society safe. It was the assumption that systems were too complicated to be broken. And the boy with a laptop had proved otherwise. So what do we learn from this? That sometimes power doesn't crumble under force, it crumbles under curiosity. That the walls we build to protect ourselves are only as strong as the minds that maintain them. And that the most dangerous weapon in the world isn't a bomb, or a gun, or an army. It's knowledge. Somewhere tonight, another teenager sits in front of a glowing screen, restless, overlooked, unseen. And the question remains, will they use their gift to build a safer world, or to show us, once again, how fragile our walls truly are? This was the story of how a teenager hacked the world's most secure prison. If this story moved you, challenged you, or left you thinking about the systems we trust, subscribe to Deep Chronicle, because the truth is always deeper than it seems.